My name is Dr. Ed Spevak. I'm Curator of Invertebrates at the St. Louis Zoo and Director for the Center for Native Pollinator Conservation. So our mission today is to talk about native bees, native bee importance, diversity, and how to support native bee populations, what you can do in your gardens, whether planting particular plants or also creating nesting sites. And that's one of the things we're going to be doing here is developing bee hotels for people so that they can actually encourage nesting for these native bees. So there are a variety of different types of what are called bee hotels, bee apartments, bee condos, whatever you want to call them. And you can do it in a number of ways, and it's really for one group of bees. There's a family of bees called the Megachilidae. These are the mason bees, leafcutter bees, resin bees, carder bees, and they use pre-existing holes. Historically, they would have used holes created by beetles and trees. But the nice part is they'll use any holes that we make. So you can take pieces of wood and drill holes, but we're going to do an even easier version where we have a PVC tube as the outside shelter and then fill that with cardboard tubes, some reeds, and maybe even a little bit of bamboo, all cut, and those are areas where the bees will be nesting. So they'll use those. So an individual female will use one of those holes, collect some pollen and nectar, make some bee bread, put it in there, lay an egg, seal that up, and make a whole series of chambers for her young to raise up and then emerge next year when particular plants are in bloom. So you'll take a section of PVC and fill it with bamboo, some cardboard tubes, the Phragmites. The biggest thing you want to do is make sure they don't fall out. So make sure it's packed nice and tight, because the worst thing you want to do is you got this bee hotel, you happen to walk around on the way home, all the tubes fall out, and all you have is a hunk of PVC. Now you could probably use it as a drinking cup, I don't know, but it's much more effective if you got the stuff in there for the bees. So make sure you also have one of these clamps. This is the easiest thing to do. And they're designed so there's like a little bit of a roof to them. So this is the top, this is the bottom, and you want to place them facing either from east to south. Now if you think about it, our weather comes from the north and west, so if you had them facing into the weather, eventually it could be filled with rain and whatever else. But having them facing east to south does two things. One, it protects them from the weather, but with morning sun and afternoon and late sun, the bees also like to warm up too. So east to south, and you also want to place them so you can actually watch the bees going in and out to see what activity there is, and also placing them near the garden, because that's what you want pollinated, and that's what you're helping the bees by supporting them. So think about that relationship too. So the bees are pollinating the food to help us, but we're also planting the food to help them. So it's that complete circle of plants, bees, and people, which is all interconnected. So I think that the biggest issue I have when people start talking about bees and you want to plant for bees, the first thing to think of is, I'm going to get stung. You're not going to get stung. The only two bees I ever worry about at all are the European honeybee, the exotic, and our native bumblebees, but only at the colony. There they're protecting the queen, their sisters, the young, their pollen, their nectar sources, but all the other bees, nothing to worry about, and particularly when they're on flowers. Think of this, when you're sitting at dinner, all you're thinking about is eating and drinking, you're not thinking about hitting anyone. Same thing with a bee. When they're on a flower, all they're thinking about is pollen and nectar, they could care less about you. Similarly, if you were to go to a crowded place and start swinging your arms, somebody's bound to hit you. If you walk around amongst a bunch of bees and start swinging your arms, somebody's going to hit you. So if you behave like you would normally with other people, and also realize that all they're thinking about is their own self-interest in their food, there's absolutely nothing to worry about. We have in North America over 4,000 species of bees. Where I'm from in Missouri, we have over 470 species of bees. So these are the bees which are maintaining our habitats and supporting our food, not just for us, but for all the other wildlife. How do we get people involved too? Because bees are integral to food security and food sovereignty issues, and it's also something that people can get involved with. So for example, if you want to save tigers, elephants, gorillas, what do? You go to the zoo, you support conservation organizations that support those species, but then you're done. If you want to support pollinators, you can do exactly those same things, but you can plant a garden. You can be a conservation at home and also eat a healthier diet. By eating more fruits and vegetables, it means that if you're purchasing from farmers, they need to make sure that they have habitat to support those bees, which are going to pollinate them. So by eating healthier and planting a garden, you can be a pollinator conservationist right at home.